There's nothing worse than this wee guy not being able to get his own back.
That Scottish Cup for Rangers is a complete must.
Is it at the end sort of now or never territory in terms of sell-on value and all that sort of stuff?
Asked for your top and you actually said no.
Welcome to the warm-up. Another busy time in Scottish football. Plenty of big league games. We're looking ahead to the Scottish Cup as well, and we're joined two top guests. We've got two men who know Scottish football inside out, and Neil McCann and Billy Dodds. Good to see you. And I have to say, after everything you've achieved in your career, umpteen Scotland caps, Hearts manager, trophies, English Premier League, are you Sam North's stunt double?
Older version. Older and rougher version.
What a come down for you. How are you?
All good. Bit of time in my hands, so I'll enjoy this.
Good. Steven Naismith. We've let him back and he's sitting on this side of the table this week as well. So looking forward to it. Hope you're both well. Busy games. It's been non-stop, hasn't it? I think Celtic and Rangers have played 5 each already in January. Start last night, Billy. You were, last night at the time of filming, you were watching Rangers Aberdeen. What did you take away from it?
A good performance for Rangers, another good home performance from them. That's not been the problem. The problem obviously has been away, but they've not had their troubles to seek. And last night they got the job done and they could enjoy the game. So it was a positive night for Rangers.
Been such a strange one though, hasn't it? Because it was always going to be, in a sense, the home form is fine. There's not an issue there. You add to that Aberdeen's position, it was always a game Rangers likely to win. It's almost like they're treading water until you find out if they can do it again on the road.
I was Doddsy saying that. I think the home form has been good. Performance levels, even against St Johnstone, I know St Johnstone gave away, for me, 3 very big mistakes that led to those goals. And then they conceded, and I think Philippe come on under a bit of pressure concerning the fans' feeling towards the team on the back of that away form. Last night could have been a real difficult tie for them. We watched the game, we were doing it in Asia, weren't we? We were doing sports scene, so you were concentrating on the Hibs Aberdeen game, Hearts Aberdeen game at the weekend, and we both sort of spoke about it thinking Aberdeen, although in this horrible run they're on and now, they still had a bit of threat in terms of their pace, wide players, they Duke, obviously a few of them missing, but going to Ibrox, that could have been a real sticky one for Rangers. I was really disappointed in how Aberdeen performed.
They made
actually.
it easy. I thought they made it easy.
They did. And I think the pressure at Philippe is come on, it's been under. Playing against a St Johnstone team that's rock bottom and playing the way they did. And then Aberdeen, how they performed. I know you've still got to take advantage of those situations when they come about, and then Fraserburgh coming up and in the cup at the weekend. It's probably a run of fixtures, and certainly on the back of those 2 results that Philippe Clement would have welcomed.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between the two sides since they last met, that game in October, it's unbelievable. You know, Aberdeen won, they were 9 points clear of Rangers at that point. You know, their first 11 games of the season, they hadn't lost any. They've now gone 12 without a win. Even checked the lineups. I don't know if you noticed, the Rangers team that night, there was a 1 survivor from the end of October to last night. You know, guys like Igaman, is there at least positives there, Stephen, that things are maybe heading in a better direction?
Yeah, I think we've all seen it. The front four's definitely changed and made them better. The freedom they've got, the interchanging of positions. But the real test when it's a low block they're playing against. That you've mentioned it consistently about it's safe, it's playing round them all the time. If you look at a Celtic team, they predominantly constantly make the same runs, make the same passes, which cause teams problems. And it's that one moment, we've all been there, you score the first goal, changes the dynamic of the game. That's what we need to do more.
You're right, Nazy, because if you take the European games that they've won, all of those teams have been open, playing aggressive football against Rangers, and they've got remarkable results. Celtic games, opened, going to try and get win the game. They excelled in that. I mean, they battered Celtic at Ibrox, which everybody was surprised about. And you're right, against teams who are actually going to make it difficult when sitting, that's when they've got to come up with answers. Even against St Johnstone, I thought it might have been like that, but it wasn't the way they played. St Johnstone were very expansive, which allowed Rangers to penetrate. Again, Aberdeen last night was, you're talking about difference of squads and stuff. The complete difference in attitude of Aberdeen players in terms of the Pataudry game to now is stark.
What do you put that down to?
That's completely winning games for me. That's momentum, belief, confidence, everything that goes about. I think you still try to play the same type of football, Dodds. I don't know if you saw it last night, but they're missing key areas. Centre forward, not scoring goals, and its centre back position is a big concern. They played Nielsen last night. Nielsen's no centre back for me. He's not quick enough to move his feet, and I think all of that into the mix made Aberdeen just a different opposition for Rangers to come up against.
You were talking about that game. I did both games. I did that game that
So
Aberdeen
you've seen
beat
the
them.
difference.
The energy difference right away, and then the confidence and the belief is just drained out of them. You talk about them being on the edge of a cliff. Aberdeen have jumped. That's how bad it is just now. They need to get going again. They need to break the cycle. I used those words last night in the game. Break that cycle to try and get the confidence back to get started again. Elgin's going to be huge for them this weekend in the Scottish Cup. They need to win that game just to give themselves a chance of getting going.
I've got good numbers for you, good research here. They were averaging 2.81 points per game, now 0.33 per game. And that, if you split the season so far into two halves, how do you go about stopping that decline? Because I genuinely can't, you guys correct me, I can't remember a more dramatic turnaround in a team, points wise.
That's an alarming drop off. And it's all right coming out after the game and saying we must do this better and we're going to work hard. I mean, lots of managers have said that. Talking about Philippe Clement and stuff, would just actually, maybe it takes as you said, Doddsy, maybe on the money there, it's a complete reset maybe. Have a look at where it's gone wrong. Aberdeen probably were winning games when they weren't probably playing
at the start of the
season.
Their fixtures suited well, and that they had the League Cup, they had a good group for that, but they then played every team in Europe after Europe, which I know you still need to win the game, but it just, how tough it is for their teams. So that went for them at the start, whereas now it's kind of evened itself out. Injuries have taken
and
place.
They didn't always play well in those games that they won at the start of the season. Yeah, they didn't play well in that one. I saw them at Dens when they didn't play well, but they won 2-1. It's momentum just gathers and things go for you when you're winning. But it also goes the other way when you're losing, where even if you're playing well, you just can't dig out a result. These new signings have got to work, and on top of that, they've got to get a win, then the new signings, and then try and get going again. But if you continue to lose games and they've got big away games coming up, it's difficult to get out the rut.
It's incredible. Like, obviously we've all been managers, even when we had that wee spell at Dundee, when we went in that unbeaten run, it was almost like you're doing the same things, but the players start to evolve within themselves. They start to find an element of confidence. When things are going against you, generally you see players, no matter what if your tactics are the same than when you're on a winning run, generally you see players take an easier pass, the less risky one, not playing with the same freedom maybe. But when you're winning games, it's almost like they're solving things on the pitch themselves because they're not overthinking things. It's becoming risk or second nature. And then suddenly when that all comes to a halt, you do start to see strikers. You two guys are, you've played in a different position to me. You probably start overthinking things maybe, and I'm going to be a wee bit safer, take an extra touch. Midfielders, I'm not going to try and penetrate, I'm going to go sideways. Defenders, I'm just going to get rid of this, rather than maybe having a wee look up and playing that structured pass at what you've been working on during the week. And I feel that if you look at Hibs are another team. The win 3-0 at Motherwell. David actually maybe is a wee bit different, talking about Jimmy Talleen maybe trying to reset. Sometimes a coach and a manager need to see, like, is this working for me? Do I need to change? He went to a 3. He put the Cadden twins on either side. He stuck a 10 in between two speedboats up top, whether it be Boyle or Johan or Hoylett's played in the 10 or whatever it may be up top, and it worked. And all of a sudden, we'll all tell you the same thing. You can go karting, paintballing, out for a few beers or whatever. The only thing that really builds an element of confidence, and that backs up the Aberdeen thing, is winning games.
Side of it though. So take Aberdeen.
That's character, Naisy, the players.
Mentality and character. That shows you how big in it part that plays.
That's the players and the characters within themselves. Neil was talking about. He's right. But sometimes when it's like that, you don't even have to manage. You just let them go, and you know yourself when you're on a winning run, you're just probably same team, maybe a couple of tweaks, but it just looks after itself, because the players are going out there with that confidence on the pitch just to do the same again and somehow win the game. It's a great spell. The testing times are, we've all been there.
Exactly.
When you're managing and you can't get a win and you've got to fix it, that's when you're really tested as a manager. And there's no doubt Jimmy Talleen just now, David Gray was tested, he come through it. Jimmy Talleen has to do the exact same. When you're being tested, find a way to start winning games again.
Could they lose this Elgin Cup tie, or is that a stretch too far?
Surely not.
Well, you look at
You're
Jim Goodwin, goes to Darvel
This time last year.
and I mean, nobody would have.
I must say, I
that
think
route, but-
Aberdeen do have. I take the Hearts game. First half, they looked good to the final third.
Yeah.
They looked energetic. They looked brave with their passes. I think that should get them opportunities in the cup game. Is then taking them.
I think they'll win, Gordon. But
It's a lot.
It's
It's
horrible
a lot
going to
more daunting
Borough-Briggs.
than it would have been a few weeks ago. Maybe,
exactly.
as an example.
It's horrible going to Borough-Briggs, tight park,
Yeah.
being
Oh,
there,
yeah.
and there'll be a decent crowd there. Yeah, Aberdeen fans will be a decent Elgin support as well, who are doing well.
Yeah.
So they're playing with confidence, and then you add that pressure. It's not going to be straightforward, but I think Aberdeen will get the job done.
You know what it's going to be like. You get into we've all got into those dressing rooms in cup games, and you just know it's going to be hostile. Where the locals come out, you know their manager's going to be firing them up, saying, "Let's get into them. They're struggling. We get one against them, and they're going to just disappear." All of those messages will be given from that opposite the Elgin dressing room. And again, that's when things are going against you. That's when, as a coach, you need to properly double down on what you're doing. You need to help the players. You need to almost give them instruction and message. That's what we were talking about with Rangers at the weekend in terms of they look as if they're playing off the cuff. And I think you can almost give good players that freedom in the final third, but when it's not, sometimes that bit of extra instruction that might help you just get over that hurdle, get the wins going, and then the confidence soars.
See, I don't have the inside track of the dressing rooms, right? The last time I worked at Elgin was when Rangers went up there, and of course it's busy, there's more press interest, so it was trying to fit a lot of people in. I was there with Jim Duffy, who you'll all know well, and now naturally you would sit next to each other and try and analyse the game, but because it was so tight for space, Jim had to sit directly in front of me. And I just speaking to the back of his head. So he's got his mic, I've got mine, I'm sitting directly behind him.
He had the hairline as well. You could have drawn a wee face on the back and just
Imagine a bit of sun on that. Jim Duffy had that. Stephen
you
Naismith.
could have
seen a
changed when he
thing.
was
He would have
smiling
seen
at
a
you with a
thing.
marker.
He
and
could have been
everything.
asleep for all I know, just right at the back of his head. Anyway, before we draw a line under Rangers, how much, I mean, what a week it's been. We're talking some fans walking out and some staying and some booing and CEOs holding briefings and backing the manager. You all know the drill. So how much is the pressure lifting off of Philippe Clement, or does it just take longer than that?
You want to go with that, Doddsy, first? Are you happy with
I think it's a positive step the way he won last night, beating Celtic. It's that way for him, and you know what? They'll take care of Fraserburgh. No disrespect to them, but they will. But the acid test comes Dundee United the week later away
The
from home. 'Cause
fixtures
it's that
after it
away.
are intense.
Oh,
the away games, aren't
tough.
they?
The away games are tough.
Yeah, especially Dundee United lying third with that confidence.
Yeah.
They'll make it difficult. Jim Goodwin has found a formula that they don't always play well, but they grind games, score late goals. They don't lose many goals. So that's going to be tough for Rangers
15
as
in the
well.
last 15 minutes of games or something. Dundee United have got to
Incredible.
finish so strongly, don't they?
Incredible.
They do.
But
Nice habit to get
anyway,
into.
that is the next test. That I think even Rangers fans now are going, right, no problem. Getting some good wins in Europe, enjoying it. Getting home wins, no problem. We're winning games. It's every time they go away from home, it's with trepidation, isn't it? And they're going to go, right, that's the one we're looking at. Can we win that one to get back on track away from home?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose we've seen this week that even Celtic can drop points on the road. We haven't seen it much, but Dundee, first of all, it was a brilliant game, wasn't it? And credit to Dundee, they were excellent. Obviously, we'll always do that and fall into the trap of looking at the big team's shortcomings, but we've got to give Dundee immense credit.
Of course you have to. Even against Rangers, I think that's a ground that's guaranteed goals. Sometimes you get up there, you're doing your punditry stuff, whether radio or TV or whatever, and you say, we'll get goals today, and it's a 0-0, but Dens Park doesn't seem to be that way. I think what Doc's done, he's pushing all the time. He's not prepared to sit back and kill a game off. I'm not sure if he's got the players to do that anyway, but to contend with the injuries he's had, he's got some really talented players. Adewumi that's come up from Burnley, found a centre forwards position where he might be an out-and-out winger. Looks a threat. Simon Murray, I think he's in the top 3 or 4 of the country in terms of calendar year and goal scoring, so he's continued that leaving Ross County. Leo Cameron has been that wee kind of creative force in there. Now whether they can hold on to him or not is a different it's a different question altogether. But he's found a way of scoring goals. And the good thing is for Doc is we've all been in that situation. If you're conceding goals, you better be scoring goals because you've got to find a balance. If you're conceding goals and you're not scoring, that's a real concern because that's when you're not picking up any points. But I just wonder if Doc, 1 clean sheet this year, I was at Motherwell, I just wonder whether he would go towards the clean sheets and be really resolute and actually forgive maybe being swashbuckling and scoring 2 or 3 in a game. Or is he quite happy to do the old Newcastle? Remember, we used to watch Newcastle, like, we'll score more goals than you. With Kevin Keegan, it was...
Their squad age, though, the last 2 years has been the youngest in the thing. I'm sure this year I've seen it was something like 22.3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably playing into that narrative of the inexperienced part defensively.
Aye, possibly aye. It's just trying to find a balance. I've been at that club as well where we were maybe conceding, we were creating lots of chances. Unfortunately for me, I wasn't getting the goals. That's why I'm sitting here. But I just think he's done very good things this year, Doc. He's sorted that pitch out as well. It's another thing. Going across the United and brought the groundsman across, but he'll be looking across the city and seeing how well good he's done at Dundee United and how well they're doing. So it becomes almost an internal city competition, which is great for us, isn't it, Scottish football. But actually, the Celtic dropping points, I don't think will happen too often. Yeah. I really don't. I know, of course, you said there that can happen, but that's a brilliant result for Celtic. Strange celebration for Donnelly, right enough.
It's been all the rage this season.
I'm actually looking through the Wikipedia. I'm thinking, has that boy been at Celtic before? I'm not sure because it was one of those ones, but I couldn't work it out.
You don't have to play for them now. You can just be a fan and you don't celebrate.
Every time somebody apologises for scoring against their former team, I get a message from Andy Halliday saying, "See, it's not just me. Look at all the stick I got for it."
So it's hard to score goals as well. You should enjoy it.
I honestly didn't. I scored against Mull teams and I
Did
never
you give it big licks?
No, because at that point in time, I'm doing a job. It doesn't mean to say I love the club any less because I'm playing against them. Anybody that knows me knows I'm all in for who I'm playing for.
But you're right. This was a new development this week. It's not even who you've played for
I
before.
wouldn't have been able to celebrate against
That's
anybody.
you played for someone. I mean, look, Celtic are miles ahead in the league, so it's hardly a crisis. But obviously, everything's just a bigger deal, you know, with the big side. So now people are looking at the lost and trusty got stick publicly, and then I think the manager, if you're a lip reader, you could see what Brendan Rodgers thought of his defending. People, Adamida, is he short in confidence and big transfer fee? Everything then comes into focus. They're clearly in a very good position, but do you read into any of those sort of criticisms?
I think it's more like Kyogo being linked to going dies into the Adamida, and is he good enough to replace him? Where's the goals? It's just that they've not got much else to talk about in terms of the league and the competition at the top, so they are doing that, but they're in a really good place. Their squad's good. I think they will make some signings this window as well, but if that's all you're complaining about and you're sitting pretty at the top, that's a good place to be.
What did Brendan Rodgers say about Trusty? I never saw it. I'm only kidding.
I'll do it, you can lip read it. Right? See if you can pick it up. See, on Kyogo, are you into the old, we all do we become body language experts. I've seen all this stuff. Oh, he didn't quite celebrate the way he usually does in Dingwall. He then mysteriously appears on the MLS website or something. There's some sort of mistake. Is he... Do you feel like his... I was going to say days at Celtic are numbered. That sounds a bit dramatic, but are we at the beginning of the end of Kyogo's Celtic career? If it is this window, next window.
I think the rest of this league would love to see the wee man disappear somewhere. From a Celtic point of view, I think they've got to try and keep him. I think he's that good. He's phenomenal in terms of his movement, his impact to games. He brings a different dimension to Celtic. He's a completely different player to Adamida. And whether some of those signings you say they'll make in January be a striker, I'd imagine one of them will be. They'll try and get someone in. I think they've got to hold on to him. Obviously, the league looks like almost it's secure, because I don't think Celtic would ever lose the amount of games that Rangers would require, even if they went on an unbeaten run. But the Champions League is a big thing for Celtic right now. That's
and this season
and it will be for Brendan Rodgers.
This season they've looked
absolutely
much better than they have previously. So 100% he'll be desperate to keep him in the team.
It'd be strange them doing business just now.
Yeah.
I know there probably is interest in them, but you can swat that to one side and just get him to concentrate and maybe let him do what he wants to do at the end of the season.
Give us a big couple of
with
months.
That Champions League, it'd be strange if Celtic let him go to go and gamble by changing it when they're doing so well in the Champions League as well, because as you say, Naisy, that's all they've got to look at.
You always get these moments with old firm players that are the top players that come, they've been for a period of time, they've loved it, and then it's that grey area of, are they going to move on or are they not? We're probably here with Kyogo, and probably the biggest thing that would identify that is him signing a new deal, or
because he's a bit older by modern standards. He's not an old man, but he's if Celtic are going to cash in, is it at the end sort of now or never territory in terms of selling value and all that sort of stuff?
I think it's more on his side than players at the old firm. You know how intense it is, and it gets to a point where you're a bit like, do you want to keep? Scottish players are probably different. They love it and they've grown up with it, but I found teammates in the past, you get to a point where they go, right, I've done this, I've won trophies, I want to go next. It's probably more on him. What does he want to do next? Is it continue to be in the Champions League and try and win some trophies, or does it go?
The body language thing I don't buy into. Everybody will search for something.
Yeah.
Some sort of sign, a subconscious reaction or whatever, and they'll say, oh, look, he doesn't want to be here. I've always found like Hatate and Maeda and Kyogo in particular, when I'm watching them, even the boy Yang, when it's not working out, there's never ever a hint of they're switching off, or they're chucking the toys out the pram, or they're going huffy. They're just always on it. They're so respectful, professional players, and I don't see any body language that's saying to me he wants out of here.
He didn't quite dance the way he usually does at the end of the game in Dingwall, I think was the accusation. He didn't quite put the same emphasis into it.
It's amazing how they didn't look at that before the game, though, when his body language is just when he scored, but he still goes out and scores 2 goals. So it was only when I'm saying when he scored the goal, they're looking for anything, because they should have been looking that he's getting played out of position, he's not happy, maybe he wants away, but then he scores 2 goals. So you should be looking at it at the start of the game, know what he's doing with a celebration.
I think the one that's always it's been there, it could be and will be if it happens, the story of the window would be Kieran Tierney back to Celtic. We're deliberately collecting guests that have gone back to an old team. That's what we're doing to get
Is that the only reason?
Because we had it in previous weeks as well, just to see what kind of what goes into that. I know every circumstance is different, because some people just say blanket, never go back, whatever that means. That what do you think of from your own experiences, and then Kieran Tierney?
Do you know what?
Blanking it, I'm talking.
I think for the players going back, I don't think it has a big impact. It's what the fans' perception of who they're getting back is. Is he the same player he was when he was here the first time? When I went back to Hearts the second time around, I wasn't this 21-year-old flying machine. I was completely different. I was 29, 30 when I was going back there, in terms of wasn't probably a yard slower than I was, but starting to, as you get older, you start to kind of become more completely aware of the game, and you almost adapt your position while being an out-and-out winger. The game's changing, all that. I get horrendous injuries and went back to Hearts, and clearly I didn't perform like I did the first time around, so then the perception is he's never been the same. But I don't think it changes your mind as a player. In fact, if anything, it was a love of the club that I ended up going back to Hearts. I had other options, and if I could have my time now because of how it transpired, I would have stayed in England, given that option again, just because that's a regret. I came back and I got injured and it never worked out for me. But I went back to Dundee for 3 games after being finished. That was magic. That was brilliant. I was finished for 2 years, went back to Dundee when their administration probably scored one of the biggest goals I've ever scored in my career, actually, for that moment, and because I'd been out of football for so long.
The adrenaline kept you going, did it?
Honestly, it felt every bit as good as anything ever has, because it was meaningful to Dundee at the time, and actually that was a good point, because the Dundee fans actually accepted that what I was doing, where I was in my life, my career, what age I was, and I was managed to make an impact, and that feels really good. Sometimes it works. Kieran Tierney going back to Celtic.
Interesting you say that though, because the phrase that kind of came to mind there is that heart ruling the head for you going back to Hearts. Now looking back, you maybe wouldn't. Clearly that's what must be part of the thinking with Kieran Tierney. Everybody knows how he feels about the.
It will be.
About the club.
100% it will be.
I was very similar to you, going back to Dundee United. Different player, played the best football in my career, got my move to Rangers, and then when I go back, people expect it to be the same, but it's never going to be the case. Had some great moments here, and you're right, Neil, it's a love of the club. Played the best football in my career, kept it going at Rangers for the first season, but I just want to go back where I was at my happiest and probably playing my best. So I was desperate to go back to Dundee United.
And although
had some great moments, but
although you're different, no, Doddsy, your teammates are different. Your team
Yeah,
function is different. It's a different manager, so it's their fault for my
failures.
And a young Steven Naismith asked for his top back at that time as well.
Is that right?
Aye, at the end of
Tell
one
us.
season.
I'm interested in this.
I can only. I think I was playing that last game of the season. In fact, I asked for your top, and you actually said no. And he said no.
Big time
Scandal.
Charlie.
And I was like,
I used to think you were a good guy.
and then
You know that is no
I got
way.
the chap came in the
apologise
door and
right now.
somebody gave it in. So you must have went, do you know what? No, I gave him it. And I got it. So, aye.
My going
After
back,
all
You
this
make me
years.
feel old.
After all these years, that's why we get they two back
see,
on
there's
together.
a few things coming out there.
Ayrshire boys, isn't it?
You must have felt sorry for me.
When I
giving
went
it.
back to Hearts second time around, you think, sentiment, back to a club that I love. Won the Cup in '98. Make my debut against Jim Jeffries, iconic manager at Hearts now. Tells the boy it ends up doing me, do him. And I've been told that 100%. But, and I don't blame him, because I've been in a dressing room where he's talking about getting physical, and if you don't make sure that you're aggressive,
You're coming off.
you're coming off, or he's going to destroy you or whatever, and I get emptied into this into the air.
Who
After
kicked you?
boy, David Lilly caught me a sweetie, and it was a bad one, and that was me. I ruptured my ligaments in my knee.
I feel bad for laughing.
that was me
I thought
done.
you'd just been kicked.
I make you feel bad now.
I feel terrible about
But
that.
by the way, one man it wouldn't have felt bad was Jim Jeffries, because his instructions
like
have been
that.
carried out, and he was completely like that. So there's no sentiment sometimes about going back. I never had
There's
that.
nothing worse than this wee guy not being able to get his own back.
Oh man,
This
I
wee
was
guy's a
desperate.
fiery guy.
I was desperate. Big David, if you're about, if you get a 5-a-side, you'll get that. But
Good to see that he's let it go though, eh? After all these years.
But no, listen, it's football, it happens. But that was a real sour moment. But sometimes it works going back to football clubs for players.
You got that? You got any tackles on you that stick in your memory the way this guy's does? He's not letting that go.
Aye, well,
Any you've
done my
done?
cruciate in the semi-final against, I don't know, St Johnstone, and Big Martin Hardy, who I played with at Kilmarnock, stood in my knee, and that was my first bad injury at that point. Your world's finished, you're like, I'm done here, but they stay with you, them moments, the big ones.
If I could save Doddsy right for that moment where Naisy wanted his top and was a big hero, like Doddsy was, I used to be Dodsy's boot boy. Believe it or not.
This wee guy was a rascal. Trust me.
Sort you out at Christmas well?
Eh?
Did he sort you out at Christmas well?
Aye, he was kind. That's what I was saying. He was good. He was out the dressing room when I went to Dundee at 16, just coming up 17. There was a few that shall remain nameless, which weren't so nice to the younger boys. But no, he was good. Even though I told my story maybe on a few years ago, that I wore his boots, his match boots one day. At that time, I used to get match boots. Like they wouldn't be
In
touched
training?
until a Saturday
Aye,
or
but I
a
just
midweek
found
game.
this out. It's like you with your top. I
And
just
you're
found it
angry
out.
when you're angry, aren't you? I've seen that in the pitch.
I think you could
That's why I
categorise
never
the three
told
of
them.
us as angry boys when people are kicking us or we want to win. We were winners. But this wee guy would do things behind your back that I'm just finding out about.
So what is an away to play fives with your mates with his boots on?
Oh no, it was better than that. It was,
And you're precious about your boots, though, aren't you?
to be honest, I was
Then,
meticulous.
You got it.
I still am, but I was meticulous with the boys. I was on the boots, and used to. There was like 2 guys would be on the boots, 2 guys on the laundry, 2 guys on the dress rooms, all that sort of stuff when it was ground staff. And he had a cracking pair of Nike Airs. They were beauties.
Remember
Just-
the
they
black-
just come
the
out.
tempo-
aye.
tempo in the back of them.
Aye.
Oh,
I was.
Perfect,
I think I was maybe 17 at the time. We'd goalers right at the time. And I was like, I was desperate for a pair of Nikes, and I was even going up 2 sizes and stuff. And John Blackwell at the time was like, "You're having a
3
go."
pair of
lad."
socks on.
So we were playing down at Carnoustie one night in a wee bounce game, and I says, "There's no chance Dodsy's going to beat this game." So I've got the night girls on. I'm playing left wing. And I swear to God, 20 minutes into the game, I got the fear because I saw him, and I think it was Alan.
you're
Denny.
only thinking about that during the
By
game,
the
aren't
way,
you?
first time I'd ever absolutely obliterated team instruction. I started drifting out towards the right wing. I was like, what's he doing here? But I managed to get through the game without him noticing. So, of course, when I get back to the stadium, they were all polished up. They were cleaned completely and then hung up. And I never ever told them until only recently.
I'm playing on the Saturday and the ball's going like that off the left foot.
The magic's off him. He's worn the magic off him. You, I'm thinking about January window in general. Do you ever deadline day or anything like that? Any January transfer drama? What's that window like?
Mine was in the summer
You were always
when I went to
summer moves.
Rangers. I was at like minutes, but at that point it was the transfer window was new. So you go through I think from like 4 games before the end of the season, you're like, might be going to Rangers, something might happen. Drags on and on, but you don't really have an understanding when moves are happening or how they come about. And then the last day, no, it'll happen. And then I was literally going to bed at 11 o'clock. Remember, thinking I'm playing Aberdeen tomorrow with Kilmarnock. It's not going to happen. And then phone rings, right, you need to get to the training ground to have your medical. Minutes to go.
I bet he's glad his phone wasn't silent. Imagine that. The ultimate
Do
wakes
not
up in the
disturb.
morning, missed call,
know.
head's gone.
I did the January one. That's
Did
when
you?
I moved to Rangers.
All right, so what's that like?
Yeah, pretty similar. I mean, I've obviously I've had a few moves, but it was similar because you just want to better your career. And I found I had to start Dundee, St Johnstone, and then it was up the way after that. So it just came about, and I didn't think it was going to get through. I had to phone Paul Sturrock, and as Neil knows, I was always a guy that, like, pushed. I didn't just accept. Because I wanted to, I worked and grafted all those years to get to where I wanted to be. So he was out in a restaurant and I phoned him and I says, this better happen. Because David Murray phoned me and he said, I think it's going to be off. So I'm panicking.
Yeah.
And I've called him and I said to him, I said, after what I was starting to lose it, because I said to Paul Sturrock, I regret it because it was always going to go through now, but at that time you panic. And he was saying to me, I said, if this move doesn't get through, the things I've done for you, I moved to St Johnstone to be with you, but I'm forgetting he helped me so much.
Yeah.
And then got me playing at Dundee United again. And I was like, if this doesn't get through, I'm telling you, I didn't say I'll never kick another ball for you, but I was like very authoritative
Never
and
forget
try
you.
to force my move through because David Murray called me and said they want another 50 grand, I think it was at the time. And for a 30, I think it was 31, it was 1.3 million was a lot of money then, and I just wanted to move so much, not just for financial, just to go and play at the biggest club you could ever play at. So that was me. I forced it through and I got my way, but sometimes you have to take the bull by the horns. I wasn't proud of it, but I made sure that I was getting my move.
I think genuinely, because you hear that phrase, players force a move, I think genuinely if you had been a different character or been a bit more low-key in that moment, that there is a chance that the move doesn't come about.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
That's what I was thinking.
that can
But Morris Malpass, you were talking about it, Naisy, I didn't think it was going to happen. Goes to Dundee United training and Morris Malpass just grabbed me and he calmed me. He was like, because I had to train in the morning, then I got to train straight down to Glasgow because that's when it went through. And I said, right, you've got to go ahead. But Morris Malpass pulled us and he said, calm down, I'll go through, trust me. And that just made me like settle my nerves.
How were you when you made moves? I always found it took me time to settle when I moved to a new club all the time. Like Rangers, saying first season was okay, Everton was similar. How were you when you moved?
Southampton took me a wee bit of time to settle. Probably came around because I didn't want to leave Rangers at the time. We just want to treble again. And then it was almost kind of forced upon me that club were needing money or whatever, and went to speak to Gordon. Really liked Gordon Strachan when I went and spoke to him down there, and then the move ended up happening. It took me a wee bit of time to settle, and probably very up and down. A lot of injuries in there as well. It made it tough. That probably made up my mind for coming back to Hearts rather than staying in England at the time. Actually, I had a wee chance of moving in one of the windows to Benfica.
Nice.
It was brilliant. It was a thing that came out of the blue. I think it was Dick Advocat had recommended me. But at the time, in Southampton wanted a transfer fee, and it fell through eventually because I think at the time Benfica they wouldn't pay a transfer fee or whatever, and it fell through. And then the following January, that was the one I came back to Hearts, and I moved for nothing. It was a mutual agreement just to tear up a contract and leave. So had it happened 4 months earlier, or just about 4.5 months earlier.
Did you fancy?
Oh God, it would have been brilliant at the time. It just wasn't. It was Harry Redknapp was manager at the time, and he was completely brilliant about the whole thing. We were going to a bounce game. I think we were playing Coventry, and he just said, he says, Mark, I just stay here. If it comes off for you, be delighted. If it doesn't, get in your motor, get yourself down and join up. and eventually I did because the transfer fee. But it's a funny one settling into teams. Going back to Hearts was great as well. Do you know what was weird? I spoke about Dundee. Going back to Dundee and administration was the weirdest I've ever had. I know it sounds kind of because it wasn't really a move as such, but it felt a wee bit because I was doing Sky Sports at the time. And when I went back to Dundee, I would have been speaking about these players. I would have been, passing comment on teams and all around, and for cup competition, whatever it may be, and going into the dressing room the next day. I was training with Dale up at St Johnstone pretty much every day and playing in bounce games, so I felt really fit. But going in there was weird because I'm thinking, what are they going to think about me?
I said he was hopeless last week.
Aye, exactly. But as I said, that
was there anything you could remember you had said?
No.
Good job he wasn't outspoken.
And actually, I don't think I'm like that anyway. Even when I'm passing comment, I'll try it. But I'd always try to remain constructive. But I think getting in there, it was like, how's the boys going to take to me? And it was a wee bit funny. It was a wee bit weird because we went in the Friday, and Barry says, "Can you go and we're just going to start you on the bench?" And I was delighted. There's no chance I can start. I've not played for 2 years, sort of thing, But the boys were magic. But I had that nervous feeling walking in, and actually it doesn't matter
when you're that experienced as well.
Well, that's the thing. But I'd been away for 2 years, and it's all right training.
Being nervous about starting again. It's weird because it was Gordon Chisholm and I at left, and that was the administration.
Yeah.
That's
we
right.
had to go. We got lured there for Queen of South. They'd done well, and then we got up there, and then the administration thing happened, and then Neil went in, and I was like, I always remember looking at that way. Wonder how the wee guy gets on.
Do you know what's funny? Jeff Sterling, Charlie Nicholas was doing like sports Saturdays and stuff like that, and he says he's a madman because I was working with Sky in at the time and David Proven and stuff, and I said, you know what saying that when you're sitting next to Jeff and you say I scored the winner? Yeah. He's like, aye, good one, wee man. And I came off the game, I'd scored in the 93rd minute the second goal to win 2-1, and the phone was just like going mad, and one of them obviously was Charlie talking about it, and it was brilliant moment. But I remember getting into that dressing room on the Friday just like thinking, this is weird, man.
So you try to tell me there's still time for Boydie to get the boots back on and swap the Sky Studio for the pitch?
Depends what size of pitch we're talking about.
You was watching Masters, no?
That's a very good point. I'm actually struggling to move on from Lisbon because I can just imagine Benfica. That would have
What a life that would have been.
Oh, that's it would have been.
Did you two ever have any moves that got away that came close and didn't happen, or?
Not so much to the point where you're right at the end point. There's always times where clubs are saying they're interested, but until it's like any transfer, you don't. It can look like a concrete. It's going to get done, and then 2 days later it can't be. There's so many spinning plates.
Do you have any like that you thought
there was a couple in Germany in times that were maybe going to be an option, but
good clubs.
They were all right. At certain times, but I was very much, when asked the question about settling in, I was conscious that I took time to settle all the time. And
so you wouldn't have jumped at something?
I don't think I would have. You look now and you look at the players, Fergie going to Italy, Hickey, who I played with, so quiet going to Italy, and it's amazing. And it would have been nice, but at the time it wasn't for me.
You have anything close that never came?
A couple,
through?
yeah. When I was my Aberdeen contract was up, Rennes and Auxerre were interested. Never materialised though. As Naisy said,
you'd have loved that wee French wine though.
I would have, too much. And then the one that when I was playing for Dundee United, Celtic, when John Blackley pulled me, he says, "Look, you might be going." Had the phone call last night. They're in talks, but it was myself for Ian Wright at that point because Henrik Larsson was injured, and they plumped for Ian Wright, so there was no problem. But that was the kind of ones we missed out on. I was lucky when I didn't take time to settle. I was pure luck because when I think back when I was Dundee and then I moved St Johnstone, did well, and then I did well there. Got 6 months later, I'm away to Aberdeen, and then Aberdeen did well there straight away. Dundee United straight away, and we come back down and got my move to Rangers. So I was lucky I hit the ground running when I went to clubs, but that's the old story with me. I nearly relegated 3 clubs in 6 months. It sounds mad that I was doing well, but Dundee were down, so Duff moved me on. Jerry Britton and Jordy Shaw come in, and then did well at St Johnstone, obviously, and scored a few goals, got my move to Aberdeen when Willie came in, and then went up there and they got into relegation trouble as well. And St Johnstone, when I went there, even though I scored, they get relegated as well. So nearly took 3 down within a season, which would have been a fair record then.
Well, this is the final ever episode of the warm-up, because Billy Dodds has just killed us off, but it was good while it lasted. The warm-up brought to you by William Hill, proper supporter of Scottish football. Right, let's do the rondo. You've been in the middle before of the rondo. Now you get to pass it around and have these two chasing you. 5 quick fire questions. Who do you want to put on the spot? Him, because he took your shot.
Yeah, I'll take
This is thrown up on us.
Right, I'll go first, and then you can warm up. Right, Neil, did you do this the last time?
I think so.
You might have. Best ground you've ever played at?
Some big ones in there.
Yeah, there is. Dortmund Stadium was amazing. The Mestalla was fantastic when we played over there against Valencia. Wembley.
Yeah.
Beating England at Wembley was just awesome, just for everything about
I'll
it,
make
you know.
pick that. That's a good
So
one.
you're going to let me pick Wembley? I can't go Wembley.
Mestalla was good because how old it is.
Mestalla was old and it was steep and it was right up against you. But honestly, for atmosphere, I think I have to go for the Dortmund Stadium.
I like it. Okay. 7:45 on a Wednesday, 3 p.m. on a Saturday. What's the better kick-off for a player?
7:45 or what? No,
On a
Wednesday under the
Or
lights.
3 on a Saturday.
I love under the lights.
Nice. Okay, winning a Dundee derby as a player or manager, which is better?
Manager, because it feels like all your work you've put in to setting something up comes to
Is it
fruition.
more of a relief feeling?
No, I didn't feel relief. I felt actual joy.
Yeah, but you feel more onus on you, I found.
There's responsibility.
Individually, that responsibility on you,
Aye.
I found more as a manager.
I think the players are looking towards you during the week for a game plan, for tactics to be chosen.
Yeah.
And then you've got to give them a wee bit of freedom. We drew in the cup, and we ended up pulling them in the knockouts and beat them at Dens, and that was brilliant. So yeah, but as a manager.
Dinner with Stephen Thompson or lunch with Jonathan Sutherland?
Oh, it's dinner with Tom all night long, man.
Is that turning into...
I was going to throw you
breakfast
through it.
and
If I said
lunch
breakfast,
the
you'd
next
find
day?
something not...
Nah, just... Is that
It's
going
nice
to...
to think
That's
about
just
it,
sheer madness.
But aye, Tom, definitely. We'll be doing that very soon, actually.
Oh, this will be good. A strike past the post or out of bounds off the tee, which gets you angrier?
I've seen both.
Oh, by the way, I have been known to throw a few clubs.
I've seen the
stopped it now,
second
though.
one, that's why I put that question in. Just once.
Without question, putting something out of bounds drives me around a bend. Aye, that finishes me actually. I've got a really weak mind when it comes to golf, and I'm not bad. I'm quite handy when I can
That's
get
the
something
thing,
going.
Tell the boys how your club pro had to warn you that there wasn't enough clubs left in the shop.
I have been known to snap a club or two of my knee.
Or two.
Yeah.
Any ones that were, you're like, this is brilliant, I love this, and then bang, you've snapped it.
I was doing well, and then I went down, I think, playing Morton Hall, I called it, Morton Hall in Edinburgh. And I put a 7-iron over my knee when the boys walked away from me, and then the next hole I put an 8 round a 3. So it was either a hard
You
6
thought I
or a
was making
soft
it up,
9.
no?
I was having to use in my next hole, but
I've only played golf with him once, that's why we put it in.
But the reason why I've
and you
stopped-
nearly chucked your driver, and I couldn't believe it.
I have. I mean, I never get angry with anyone else, just myself.
Yeah.
And that's always been the way. But I've stopped all that. I'd like to say I've had a word with myself and thought, but
getting better.
the club pro told me you can't get the same shafts anymore as what you've got in the rest of your
So
clubs.
don't snap
I
them.
put me away because obviously I've got a wee touch of the LCD and he's never all the same, so that was me.
On that note, it's you. Take it
Here we
away.
go. Billy Dodds, your Rondo.
Right.
Biggest name in your phone book.
Jeez. Oh, what a question, Easy, right away. I would have to go through it. I honestly can't think about who it'd be.
Any big managers in there?
Ex-players that you played with.
You should have taken Ange's number that day, like you
Aye.
did. That was his mistake.
I mean, some players like Kanchelskis still my phone book. In fact, he called me on holiday about 5 years ago. I was sitting in the balcony and phone goes and it's Andre. And he just like, hey, how you? I'm like, that what?
Like you.
He just as Neil said, just a great lad. And
I like that
I
one.
said, you wouldn't believe where I am. I'm out in the balcony with a glass of wine in my hand, and just did a good blair with him. But can Chelsea's probably biggest name, but I'm sure there's a bigger one in there when I go through it. You've just put me on the spot.
I like that
I know
one.
that's
I'm
what it's all
happy,
about.
I'm happy with that.
Billy Dodds or Billy Joel? Who's the better Billy?
Billy Joel.
You a fan?
Yeah, in the day, yeah, definitely Billy Joel. I think that was an easy one, but
I didn't put these questions together, so I'm not taking.
Neither did I.
first one was good. Hit me
Keswick Bridge or Tay Bridge? Which is the better bridge?
These are big questions.
That's a terrible.
I'm already
That's a terrible
disliked
question.
by some Dundee fans and most Dundee fans. And if I say, I think the Tay Bridge, because it takes you over to St Andrews where I can go golf.
I like that. That's a good.
I thought
You've
he was
made a
gonna
great answer out
I
of
thought
a
he was going to
terrible
properly
question.
analyse the standard of the bridge there for a minute. That's good. Right.
That's a
From an
good one.
engineer
This is a
point
good
of
question. Your favourite strike partner?
Oh, this is a good one.
Oh, plenty. But the one I
Enjoyed the most.
Yes.
Not just the most
Yeah.
goals, but who did you enjoy playing with?
I think I could guess this.
Oh,
come on in.
I was going to say Duncan Shearer.
No. Big Duncan, he is an assassin as well, and he'll slaughter me the next time I see him. Brilliant, unbelievable.
He's a good foil for you as well, wasn't he?
Best finisher.
He's
Best
good foil.
finisher. I did Donkey's running. He finished my career, whatever. I played for another 5 years. But Duncan and I laugh about it, but the best finisher I played with, Duncan Shearer. The best partnership was Dean Windass. Dino would cause a fight in an empty house. I wasn't huge friends with him, but my word, there was an understanding there that we really had to off together.
how good is it when you get that wee connection with players?
Who's yours?
Do you know who? Kenny Miller.
Aye.
Kenny Miller, just because that understanding. Played with Lukaku and guys like that who brilliant, but Kenny had a good understanding and he probably wasn't selfish as a striker. So he would do the right thing more than that. So I enjoyed
Funny,
probably
because you
playing.
two
What a
get-
busy strike force that is.
Oh,
they
man,
two.
I was going to say that
Well,
because
I
you
played
two,
more off the left.
Imagine trying to get a word in with those
you
two.
two share similar attributes in terms of love running down the sides, those wee bending
You got a
runs down
favourite?
the channels
You
and
got a
stuff like
favourite
that.
part? I mean, would yours be a favourite striker then to link up with?
Or a midfielder that gets you
True.
their passes. Like for me, playing with a Gareth Barry, you just knew you were getting the ball.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like a Fergie probably giving you the ball. Or
I love Tony. When I went there, Tony Vidma was playing as left back behind me, and he was brilliant. He used to back me up. Newman was incredible to play in front of, incredible. Because generally I would work back anyway. It was part of the drill. You had to work defensively, but you would get so far and Arthur, but stop. In terms of strikers, you know, some of the boys I played with, Dodo was brilliant because he actually, same with Rod Wallace, we Kev Phillips, guys like that. Generally, real good strikers understand the winger and understand the player who's going to be wide. So generally, I was always taught and worked myself on areas that I'm in where I would deliver. So it becomes habitual for the strikers to. I don't even need to look up because that's my area. They know if they know me to be there, and actually probably make you look better than maybe what you are.
Last question for Billy Dodds.
I've got an
Let's see
answer
it.
to you. Paul Laurie was probably the most.
Nice.
that's another good one.
Like that.
Hat-trick in the Challenge Cup final for Dundee or a hat-trick for Dundee United debut, which was better?
Both obviously good, but the Dundee United one, I did song in that game. And I scored a header for about 18 yards.
And you're just in the door.
Aye, and it was my debut, so it was perfect. But obviously winning the trophy was great with Dundee, but definitely the Dundee United hat trick was special. As you said, that you had to get off and running at clubs.
Aye.
That set me off. at
Buys you
Dundee
credit,
United.
that.
Just a bit. I never scored for about 6 games after that.
The warm-up brought to you by William Hill, proper supporter of Scottish football. Let's turn attention to the Cup because there's some brilliant fixtures. We've obviously touched on some with Elgin and Aberdeen and so on, and Rangers and Fraserburgh. I mean, take your pick. I just love the look of Hibs and Clydebank because of the gap. Hibs obviously in the top flight, Clydebank in the West of Scotland Premier. They're taking 2,000 fans through Easter Road. I know you talk about romance of the Cup and these phrases, but that's it. That's in a nutshell.
I played at Kilbowie. Played against Clydebank. A very infamous, maybe is not the right word, but a cup game where the keeper got attacked for a fan and then just absolutely flattened the fan into the side of the net. It was, he came on, he just it was a beauty. Caught him a peach, put him into the side of the net, but it was just it was chaotic. But I remember playing against Kilmarnock, Clydebank, because I played against Davie Cooper, who was one of my heroes.
Of course. Yeah.
And it was one of the best moments of my career, playing on the same pitch as him. And I nutmegged him. And everybody will know sitting at his table, if you've nutmegged somebody, you can feel it coming, you know, especially. And I didn't whistle, I didn't say megs, didn't do anything. He'd find his way out, and you just feel somebody behind you.
David Lilly tackle coming.
No, yeah. Coops, I don't know if Coops were renowned for any scissors, but he came behind me and he just patted me in the backside and he went, I love that wee man. And I swear to God, it was one of the best moments in my career. Hands down.
He'll not have known how big an impact that had on you as well.
No,
that comment.
It wouldn't have just amazing because he was one of my all-time heroes. But that's a great story.
If a young winger had nutmegged you, would you have done the same?
Scissored immediately. No,
exactly.
No,
100%.
No, I absolutely love that.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I do.
I can tell they're not convinced. There were so many good fixtures. That, I mean, anything that 2,000 fans going through there, it should be
brilliant.
Fantastic. I mean, you can take your pick. It's always, there's nothing worse when you're one of the so-called smaller teams in the Premiership and you're hoping for a run and you just get a kind of all Premiership tie. I think St Johnstone and Motherwell are going to play each other back to back, aren't they? Cup and League. Are we calling that the Simo Valakari derby? But maybe a bit tenuous. Where are they at? Because you mentioned that they go to Ibrox so open, so defensively slack, and that's why it loses them the game. But
do you know why they were defensively slack? When they were in possession. Because they play this football that, listen, I have no problem with philosophies, but there's a time and a place for me. But they want to play this build from the back. Their centre-halves are out of position. Their midfielders are trying to angle to get on the ball. And as soon as he gave it away, especially against Rangers, they're ready to snap in. As soon as he gave it away, your central defenders are huge gaps. Yeah. And you see Rangers, when they nicked it, just get one pass. It's maybe sometimes you've just got to say, right, okay, yeah, that's my philosophy, no problem with that, but try and get a balance where when we're at the bottom of the league, when we're that far behind, there's a reason for it, that maybe just try and do like maybe Jim Goodwin's Dundee United, be nice and solid.
Do you think you can do that? So he's come in with his plan.
I don't think Simo Valakari will change. I'm not saying it's wrong.
As a coach, do you not then think it will undermine you a lot if you go, no, we're going to play out, and then results aren't going your way, but then if you change, where does that sit?
I think if you completely change it, Naisy, then the players will like, hold on a minute.
Why were we doing that to begin with?
But you can certainly adjust it.
Can you mix it?
No,
sometimes we'll say, right, listen, we want us to keep playing, but there's an odd time I'll just want it to go in a channel or up to a striker and give them something else to think about and show that we're mixing it up and balancing it a little bit. I think that will help players take it on board and go, that's no daft for the manager.
Do you know what players will do that? Paul McGowan. Remember Paul?
Yeah.
I think I'm an angry guy. But I absolutely loved him. What a guy to have in your team. He was just brilliant because he just didn't stop. Infectious wee winner. And the way we played football, he was quite important because he played in a wee 10 role.
Yeah, and he was intelligent.
He's brilliant, coming in and backing in and rolling and stuff like that. And then we get Simon Murray in one of those deadline deals. It was a wee triangle happened with Scott Allen.
That's right, yeah.
There was all sorts going on. And we get Simon, and Simon's game is all about in the channel, and I wanted that bit of variation. So I would say sometimes the centre back, look, Paul, I want you to show, and you're going to drag somebody away, but if it's Simon, you bend a wee run, just throw a couple just down the sides. I went, what are we doing that for? This is working. He just wanted to play football all the time, but it's saying, look, to have an option just to change up just to adapt sometimes is good, and sometimes players will go, oh, hold on a minute. So if Simo suddenly comes in and abandons all of that football, actually, his whole squad may actually they'll start maybe doubting him. Doubt him. So I just feel he's too honest.
Yeah. Obviously, get another Dundee derby to look forward to. See on Rangers Fraserburgh, a great occasion for Fraserburgh players. I think obviously you would all expect Rangers to go through. I've seen this kind of theory that Rangers are a cup team in a way, because they've shown in a one-off day they can even beat Celtic quite convincingly. European football would how much of a priority needs to go on the Scottish Cup then, if you're saying, as I think most people are, that the league is
where they are
gone?
now? a huge priority.
I mean, is it even enough? Is that the reality of it? Or?
But it's poor when it comes to that. That when we were all at Rangers, if somebody labelled you a cup team, it's just unthinkable.
I was going to say it's not enough. Winning leagues is where Rangers want to be. That is a be all and end all. Winning cups is nice. If you can't win the league, you win the Scottish Cup and you end on a catalyst. In 2002, we'd done nothing the year before. Alex McLeish came in. We won the 2 cups, but we used that as a catalyst. We then go and win the treble the next year.
First season the same way as we won the 2 cups, lost it in the
so
league.
it's a must to win. That Scottish Cup for Rangers is a complete must. It should be driven at like that. It just remains, what kind of teams are you going to put out there against Fraserburgh? Can you put in a Bailey Rice? Can you put in another cup with the kids? Zach Lovelace or something like that. But that's an important fixture. They'll win it. But I think that's a must.
Yeah, I mean, still a lot of football to be played before we find out who wins the Scottish Cup. You two be struggling to keep up with this, man. What is it, 5 Scottish Cups?
5, aye.
It's all right, isn't it?
Wow, that's very
It's
impressive,
a
aye.
couple of different. I mean, out of the 5, is there such a thing? Have you got like one standout Scottish Cup memory?
There's 2 for very different reasons, but the standout for me is always going to be 98 when my Hearts. I say it all the time, and I've won 2 Old Firm Cup finals as well, Scottish Cup finals. And the other one, as I mentioned there, being the Loving Crowns Cup final, the 3-2, last touch of the ball. If you're writing a script for a cup final, it's bang, 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 and then we score a last minute winner, and I've been involved in it, which was amazing. And of course to beat Celtic in that. But the Hearts one, 98, so long that the club had gone without winning it, and then it was like, it's not even so much winning it was the big thing, because some of the happiest moments of my career was spent in that Hearts team, in front of the Hearts fans at that time with Jim Jeffries. But the open top bus and all that was just, you can't do that as an Old Firm player. Remember Jackie McNamara, a friend's Jack, and when he went down to Wales, he was talking about, I think, the Glenn Hoddle. And I think he had said something to the boys, and they couldn't get their head round as how can that not be done, and it just can't be done. But the Hearts thing was just the outpouring of joy. Some of the scenes in the back of my mind that I saw that day going back to Tynecastle.
That was at Parkhead, wasn't it?
Played it at Parkhead, aye. You beat an
Was that your first trophy?
That was my first trophy, aye.
Well.
We'd lost a couple of League Cup finals. We'd lost against Rangers in 96 League Cup final 4-3 at Celtic Park, funny enough. And then that was my first win. But going back and fire service whined out in the street, and there was, I can see it. I can see these old people standing on the side of the road with their wee pyjamas on. This wee old couple, never forget it, with a heart scarf, and they're in tears because it had been so long. So the outpouring of emotion that cup final felt to half the city, shall we say.
He's got his Hearts jumper on today as well.
I know. I didn't even know you were going to ask that question. But no, that was brilliant. But of course, been looking back in your career and winning 5 and one way. The wee man here, was it Aberdeen game, was it?
Yeah.
Aye. And the rod smashed you into the post.
Oh,
it's amazing the memories that you do get from them moments. They're so small in terms of how long your career is, but how clear they are.
Nazy, my memory is breaking my ribs against that post. And I scored and we won 4-0, and the other memory is that's when the goalkeeping rule got changed, because Jim Layton
came off and
Robbie Winters.
We had to
Went
get
and
goal.
goal.
I thought you were going to say the pass back there.
If you ever get a chance, watch it.
It's so
it's
funny,
one of the
man.
funniest clips you'll ever see. I laugh at it myself, but it was.
Do you know what's funny? Do you know what's
bloody
brilliant about it? We had that type of mentality. The strikers that we had in the team, like guys just desperate to
I'd
score
scored
goals.
and I wanted a
shooting
double.
and shooting.
George Albert's hit a 25-30 yarder, comes down off the crossbar.
So you
I
rushed
don't
in.
know it's a yard in, and I wasn't quick, so we Rod beat me to it. But you watch the way I get wrapped round that post.
Folded in half.
Oh, it was
And
one of
seriously broken ribs though.
They're always celebrating. I'm going, know how you go when you're winded? Mammy, daddy, mammy, daddy, mammy, daddy. That's what I was doing. It was horrendous. And anyway, that's my memory. But it was good. We won the cup. But my word, it was
Came
painful.
at a price.
It was painful.
There's maybe a sadness attached to this one as well because of how quickly it's changed for Inverness. But how proud was that a couple of seasons ago, leading them out against
Do you know what?
Celtic?
Of course it was proud, and Neil left me with a job. I was surprised when the wee man decided to go. He was obviously pursuing other things, and I was like, that, right, okay. And he gave me his blessing, took the job. Didn't think we'd get to a cup final. But it wasn't. He was there that day, and we had a good chat before it. And Ange Postecoglou was
Brilliant,
excellent as
Ange,
well.
great.
Yeah, proud. But you know what? I didn't. 100%. I'd been there. I'd done it. I wanted my players to enjoy it, and I got asked to do so much before the game. Like I was living in Inverness and go out and go on a boat and try and see the dolphins that are up there, things like that, and do a lot of interviews. I was like that. No, I want my players. This is about my players. They got us here, and you have to realise how hard provincial players have worked to get the team there. And honestly, I really mean it from my heart. It wasn't about me, and I didn't do an interview hardly before it. I know a press conference, but I was like, no, this is the players' moment.
What was Ange Postecoglou giving it? Because he was nearly in the receiving end of his own cup disaster at Tamworth last weekend, wasn't he?
Yeah. No,
He was good that day. He was dead relaxed.
Talking about Australians we'd played with, Craig Moore, Kevin Muscat, and just talking about the day and the type of characters that they were as well, weren't they?
It was good because I was working that day with the TV, and we went over, and he was dead relaxed.
He was.
It was brilliant actually. Just spend 10
Probably
minutes.
knew he was going to win the cup, help him, but he was relaxed. He didn't have to have the chat that we had, but it was good because I went over to Brisbane to see Craig Moore as well, and went into the no training when Ange was there, but went into training and told him I'd been there, just blaring, just as you do. But it was so relaxed. It really was. It wasn't like
it was brilliant with me when he was here. I had the interim. He was excellent with me. Like after the game, he's like, "I'll get your number and we'll drop you a text." And you think, "Oh, that's just one of the throwaway comments." And then on the way home, text for him if you ever need anything.
That shows how much he cares about that side, because I think everybody knows on the other side he's not much of a talker.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, he keeps himself.
I think he knows.
Himself,
I think he's got an understanding of when you are a manager, head coach, what pressure and how intense it is. That's the biggest thing that came across to me. He knows what it's like.
Who's the best at that kind of giving advice? Any managerial advice you've had over the years that really sticks out? Is it just always nice when people go out their way?
I would have a blather with Big Gordon Chisholm and that, but I never really went to any managers that were.
Was there any manager you took from any manager and goes, I'm going to use that all the time? Whether it be a training session, whether it be a way of playing to speak to.
I was lucky. I mean, I come through that Dundee United school of coaching, and some unbelievable coaches. And I'm not just talking about Paul Sturrock, who was like a father figure to me, but Paul Hegarty, Maurice Malpass, Gordon Wallace, people like that were sensational for me because I took a lot onto the training field.
Yeah.
But I mean, that I was lucky to learn from that. They didn't go on to be huge managers, but they were really good on the field, and I took a lot of that.
You take any strikers drills from? Obviously, you mentioned about Gordon Wallace.
Strikers'
and
points,
Sturrock, Paul Sturrock.
Yeah, it was. Sturrock was unbelievable. But if there's a cross coming in, just small coaching points. If there's a cross coming in, you know when it's coming in. So does the centre half have to know. He'll have to have a glance at some point. See, glances, you're on the move.
See, on that, this reminds me of a Scottish Cup memory I wanted to ask you about. How do you know the cross is coming in when the winger goes and stands on the ball and does that before he crosses it into you in a Scottish Cup semi-final?
Chops 5 times before delivering.
Oh, I hate that.
That was a frustration.
Because you know, everyone remembers Kanchelski standing on the ball. You're the guy that goes and sticks it in after.
Yeah, there's he was brilliant. I don't want to blow any more smoke up your backside, but he was brilliant because, see, when he beat somebody, you knew. I didn't like wingers, and it took a big thing when I became a manager.
Why you told me you like me?
Hear me out. I didn't like wingers that chopped all the time. But I love wingers, and I made sure that I signed plenty when I went to Inverness, and that's the way my team played. I loved crosses getting in the box. I wasn't the quickest. Naisy, you know what it's like. You need crosses. The wee guy was brilliant at it, and he could curl it, he could stand them up, and it was tremendous for me. Kanchelskis was the same.
Building that understanding, innit?
Yeah.
That you don't even need to think, you know.
I was a moaner. You were, Naisy, you were the same sort of. Although I never gave you my jersey, I always thought
I got it
that
in
wee
the
guy
end, so it's
reminds
all
me
right.
so much of myself, where moaning, determination to win, moaning if the ball didn't come in the box. There's nothing worse than a wee winger just going, I'll chop it it again. You don't know.
That's a one-off though. I've never seen anybody else stand on the ball, I don't think.
Somebody done it years later.
He didn't cross that one. He made a pass into the striker. He always just said
I thought
that.
he crossed that for you.
He made a pass and then it went wide and then it.
No, he rolled it into the no. He went in a 1-2.
Yeah, it was a one. He played that
Got
into the
you, right, and then
a
crossed
striker
it.
went wide and then rolled it
Okay,
across the
okay.
weakness, and I just tapped
We
into
played
the net.
Kilmarnock not long after that at Ibrox, and he went up against Gary Hay, who was fiery, and he stood Gary Hay up and thought he's going to do it again, and he didn't. He jumped behind the ball and did a full
So he did.
pirouette. Do you remember?
Aye.
Yeah.
And
So he
then-
did. He didn't touch the ball. It was just
No,
sitting
he
there.
just jumped and did it,
Aye.
and I went, oh, I didn't like it. I
Smash.
didn't, but we Gary Hay tried to smash him.
It doesn't sound as if it's like why would you what do you gain for doing that?
I have to say, see Andrew Kanchelskis,
Great
what
boy.
a boy.
Was he?
Yeah.
What a professional. I mean,
What a
we
career.
got him at back end of his career and he was still rapid, quick. What a player and what a professional about the football club. My God.
Ever on the receiving end of it? What was the worst shock you were on the receiving end of any? I mean, we talk about Tamworth, but it didn't come to anything in the end. You ever on the end of a bad one?
Very early in my career, Ayr beat Kelly in one of the games.
Rivalry.
And probably the biggest one that sticks in my mind was, again, just in Kilmarnock's first team, away to Morton. But at that point, I'm not thinking, that's a really tough place to go. You're naive and you think, oh, Morton, we're going to go and beat them. Get put out of the cup there, and how bad you felt after it. How
That's a
that
tiny
was-
wee dressing room as
Aye,
well
yeah.
to get.
Jim Jeffries
Oof.
raging. So that was the worst one for me.
Any bad ones?
We drew, remember drawing with Berwick down there
Yeah.
under Alex McLeish, and he gave us a bit of a doing in the dressing room after. We won the corresponding fixture back at Ibrox, the replay, but
You get away with that, don't
get
you?
away with a wee draw. I was sneaked out of jail in that one, but it wasn't. I mean, we expected to go down there and take a barrowed off Berwick, but they performed on the night. We didn't.
Anything for you?
I was hoping you didn't come. One of the worst, Stenhousemuir beating us, Aberdeen.
Oh, of course, aye.
Um,
What year's that again?
Oh, I'm not sure, but I just remember, wasn't it just 2-0 they battered us, and it was a real shock to the system. Luckily, Darvel have now beaten Aberdeen and took a bit of pressure off them.
It's now the second worst shock for
I'm
Aberdeen.
telling you, I told you I wasn't quick. I was sharp.
then, Jesse.
1995.
Bernardo, that
Yeah,
sort of time.
95.
no, look, big players, Brian Irvin, Theo Snelders, Jess, myself. There was a
Duncan
few.
Shearer, all these
The
boys.
crazy thing is,
Duncan Shearer.
during their games, you can see it slipping away, but you just can't do anything about it.
Nothing.
Isn't it? You're like, we've got this team, just start, but there's nothing you can do.
I was just trying my backside off, and I wasn't. Honestly, we played. It was a quagmire. Stenhousemuir has now got artificial, but it was a quagmire, and it was sticking into it. And I was like an old cuddy horse where you couldn't get going. And Jordan McGeechy was turning 40, and he used to be my teammate at Dens. Remember George McGeechy, no? Before your time.
Before me.
And he was a fit, he had no weight on him. He had the cigar out against me. And he was just like running on the soft surface, and I was like, I can't even get near this today. But it wasn't just me. They battered us all over the pitch. And then there was an Ayrshire farmer, Tommy Steele, I think it was, scored the 2 goals. You can imagine it was a sensational story.
Yeah.
Farmer scores 2 to knock Aberdeen
Brilliant,
out of
isn't
the
it?
cup.
Well, never
But
know,
one of
maybe
the
we'll-
one of the worst
I think
results.
the worst
you'll
I've
get.
seen, I was at, do you remember when Albion Rovers knocked Motherwell out? But Motherwell were like third at that time. That was the Stuart McCall team.
Yeah.
Maybe even like kind of second. I can't remember if it was when Rangers weren't in.
Yeah.
Albion Rovers were near the bottom of the bottom tier. And
Inverness, Celtic,
Inverness,
another
Celtic's
big
a big
one.
one, isn't it?
I think Darvel, obviously, it's only a year. It's been a fast year. Okay. I think that's us. I think that brings us to the end. I loved that, by the way. What an insight. Scottish Cup memories, some chat about what's happening at the moment. Top guests and Neil McCann and Billy Dodds. Thank you for your time. And you, you're going to
I enjoyed that. It was really relaxed, that.
I heard you've been playing paddle tennis 4 times a week. So
I'm getting all right, so-
maybe we need to get you off the paddle court and get you back in here.
Maybe.
Sam North stunt double there. Anyway, thanks for watching the warm up. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.